Despite having achieved academically, I hold a little remorse and a little chip here at my shoulder regarding my later years in education, and in this video I'll go into some detail as to why.
Like, subscribe, and click the bell to get notifications when I post.
The viewer should recognise that my high school education took place in the 90s. I graduated in 2001. Therefore, the technology that exists today that has allowed me to achieve academically, achieve my master's degree. Obviously, if I was to go on and do a PhD and get published in an academic journal, we're looking closer to somewhere where I read 45, give or take. And therefore, my grievance is that if the education system would have got things correct when I was younger, I would have achieved that. I would have achieved my academic education a lot earlier and would be in a position now to be working full time somewhere other than still working part time and trying to achieve an identity for myself in society. That is of both personal and professional identity.
Getting it right for every child.
The Children and Families Act 2014, which came into place obviously in Scotland, came in at a time when I was no longer a child and I had actually moved on to working full time for that period. Shortly after, I went back into education to get my second undergrad degree in politics, philosophy and economics. The question that I have to the viewer is, do you feel the Children and Family Act has helped you? Do you feel as if getting it right for every child, GIRFEC, has enabled you to get the support you need for your educational endeavours? Obviously for me, it was too late. By then I had left and I achieved standard grades at a basic level. I think I've achieved 4s and 5s. Sorry, 4s and 3s and 4s? 4s, 5s, whatever. And I personally believe I could have done a lot more if I would have had the support. I think there's two things that I feel as if the education system failed to pick up on. Not just the not just the education system, but the actual state itself. Obviously, as you may be able to see, I can't see out of this eye due to it being frosted over. When I said to the hospital that this was a major issue, obviously I can't see the blackboard if I sit at the back of the class. Obviously I couldn't see blackboard if I sat at the front of the class because I have double vision and then it would be harder to copy anyhow. But I was told that it was the brain, I was told it was the brain that was damaged and not the eyes, and therefore nothing could be done. I also couldn't hear high pitched sounds. I did have a hearing aid back then, but as a young child and a young adulthood, give or take, you don't really want to be different, so therefore you don't do anything that actually makes you different. So again, my question would be, did the state and the education system fail to recognise that this was happening? Are they recognising today that it's happening? No, if they're not, no comment, let me know why, and that way I can bring it up with my elected colleagues.
Learning Disability, Autism and Neurodiversity, Scotland, Act, date unknown, 2026 possibly.
So going back to my childhood, I was tested for dyslexia. It turns out that I'm not dyslexic and therefore didn't get support of someone who would have been dyslexic at that time. It turned out that given that the brain was damaged, there was nothing in support in regard to a framework that allowed state and education system to support me in my education endeavours. So if we now move forward to the current date and look at what is potentially going to come into force through the Learning Disability, Autism and Neurodiversity Act, then we can ask basically, would this act, or will this act help support children who obviously view the world differently and who learn differently? For me, there was definitely a link between learning disability and what I was unable to achieve, should I say? Or should I put it another way and say that I exhibit certain aspects of learning disabilities at an early age where I wasn't learning, but obviously it could be said that that learning, or the lack of ability to learn, was due to the chemotherapy and radiotherapy in order to kill off the cancer. That's something we can look at a later date, I suppose. So what I really like to know though is, as an individual who may be going through the state system at the moment, who feels they aren't supported, do you believe this act would help yourself? Obviously that is the learning disability, learning disability, autism and neurodiversity bill. No, do you feel as if this bill benefits you? And in what way? So obviously if you have any opinion on this, please comment below, and again I can bring this up with my elected colleagues and my colleagues in the third sector.
Human Rights Integration, Scotland, Act 2026.
After graduating from Glasgow Caledonia University at the end of 2021 with my master's degree in social innovation, I decided to start up my own social enterprise, ALEAF, which is obviously, you can see from the introduction of this video and the video that will follow, is where the idea for these videos, this channel came from. So as part of trying to find out how best to support society and communities within society, I joined the Scottish Government Human Rights Lived Experience Board. And the idea there was to find out what was the best way in order to support local communities. Obviously, I want to be more specific here and talk specifically about two conventions of the UN. That is two conventions of the UN Convention, and the one that I want to look at specifically is the Rights of the Child, which was ratified by the UK government in 1982, which is quite a surprise to me, to be honest. But what was the right of the child, or what was my right to an education in 1992, and was that right recognised by the education system that was in place in Scotland at the time? And obviously, again, I'll open that up to the viewer. Do you feel your rights or the rights of your child are being recognised by the current Scottish Government? Do you feel as if there is something more that could be done to support you or your child in education as it is at the moment? And obviously then I want to look more at the rights of people with disabilities. So obviously this is a newer one which didn't come until 2008. But again, do you feel as if your rights as a person with disability are being recognised, or is there something that is lacking? Again, let me know, and again I can bring these points up with my elected colleagues in my colleagues in the third sector, and hopefully even my colleagues in the fourth sector, which is the social enterprise sector. Finally, just from my perspective, which has been a bit more egotistical here, given that there was the rights of the child and the rights of people with disabilities, my rights should have been recognised. For some reason, they either weren't, or I perceived they weren't. Well, obviously it's subjective to myself, but that is a perception that there was a barrier to my early education, to my education within within secondary school. I was a white child, so I think for most of primary school, I was not with learning anyway, because I already knew most of the things that we've been taught.
Final thoughts.
I just want to finish off this video by saying, while I do have a chip on my shoulder, this one, yeah, no, I'm also grateful that I am able to achieve academically. I'm still grateful that I can go to work, that I can get up in the morning, I can walk, I can talk, I can take part in physical education, either physical exercise, which improves my well-being. Despite all the hardship that this video may suggest that I do face, I am obviously doing a lot better than perhaps quite a lot of people who have learning disabilities or maybe struggle with everyday health and whatnot. Uh, what I would like to say to them and to the viewer is, if you are finding it hard, no, don't give up. I know that's hard to say, but from where I was as a young child, diagnosed with a brain tumour, to where I am today, yes, it has taken a long time, and yes, I believe the state could have done more. I believe the education system could have done more. I hopefully that the bills and acts that are coming in through the Scottish Parliament will help to support young people today. Obviously, if I was younger, then I may have received that same support, but I hold no remorse towards any of the education system or remorse to the state. I know they did their best. Unfortunately, the frameworks weren't there to support them. But yep, I mean, I can't fault actually what had happened, because I'm here today to tell the tale, and at the end of the day, that is all that matters.